Hi. All right, we are at the beginning of period 4. I'm so excited. So there's going to be a few different things that I want to go over with you in this period. My main goal is to have us start picking up the pace. So that's where I want to incorporate some strategies to start picking up the pace. You know the strategies that we have been using, reading for theme, and well, really that's the main one. We have used little things to help us understand what the theme is. So the plot sequence organizer, the somebody wanted but so, those are all things that I use to make sure that you are pinpointed, super concentrated on the theme. And once you have determined the theme and are comfortable picking that every time for the answer, then that's exactly where I want you to be. So I think by the end of period 4, usually kids do have this major shift in understanding after period 3. So I'm excited to see what kind of results you start seeing here in period 4. Before we go on, though, I do want to remind you the SAT is nothing but a standardized test. And what you've probably been exposed to thus far in your education are state mandated standardized tests, particularly if you're in public school. Some private schools do pay different public schools to administer their standardized test. Standardized test doesn't mean everybody takes it. What standardized test means is that the score is going to always be valid and always be reliable. And you haven't met a valid or reliable test until you've met the SAT. This test has been administered for over 100 years. It is the one that every single institution in our country relies on and continuously uses as a measure for student success. So what I want to just reiterate to you with this, our bell curve, and maybe some of your teachers have introduced you to the bell curve, is just this level of understanding that when you first go in without any preparation and you're just going in to take the SAT, just in general, the median score is going to be 500. Most people are going to fall right around 500. Some people are just a little bit north of that, right around 1100 total math and reading together. But if people continue to just score right around 1,000, between 1,000 and 1,100, then that means that it is a completely reliable and valid test. So what the SAT, what College Board has to do then is provide this breakout, this matrix to show us how reliable each individual test is. So there's really good with that. The number one is the fact that this test being reliable and valid means that they can't change the answers. I mean, they can change the answers, they can't change the questions. They can change the reading passages, they can't change the questions, because you are going to be exposed to this test multiple times in the amount of time that you're in education, right? So you take it, some of you took it 8th grade. Probably most of you took it 8th grade, you may not remember. And then you got your results back, and they're probably, as every 8th grader does, puts them at the bottom of their backpack and pulls it out at the beginning of the next school year. And then you took it again in 9th grade. You took it again in 11th grade. So you have multiple interactions with this test. And in order for it to be reliable, you have to, have demonstrated, an understanding of this test. And so they can't change the questions. They can change the reading passages, but they can't change the questions, so that you can take this test in multiple times and it still be a reliable and valid test. In order for them to make it a reliable and valid test, they have to write an answer for everyone. So every kid gets the right answer that they think is right? So my best example is, remember back on period 1 when we were reading about traffic and the word was backed up. We were looking at probably our first most nearly means, and it was backed up. Well, most kids when they think about, okay, this article was mostly about traffic, which we know from the theme, it was about traffic congestion and the environmental concerns with traffic congestion. But when that kid that, is a struggling reader gets in front of that test and looks at the word backed up, that kid is automatically going to choose jammed, because last time they were in a traffic jam, the road looked pretty jammed. So there has to be an answer for that kid. There has to be another one that sounds pretty close to being correct for this kid. Where I want you to be, of course, is up here. But where you're going to land, might be right around in this area. So really what I'm challenging you to do today and from now on is to understand that when we use our elimination and we get it down to 2 on the answer selection, what I'm trying to have you do is see 1 does seem like it's the correct answer. I know that they talked about it in the passage. I know that it is, that it was part of the hypothesis. The words are, I can match the words to the reading. So that's, that most kids are going to choose that answer, which is going to keep them from being the stellar student that you are. When you're willing to just believe in me and believe that you're choosing the theme, when you see the theme in an answer choice, you found the right answer. But kids are scared of that. I get scared of that. My stomach will flip upside down if I get it down to 2 and one of them seems like the real right answer, but one of them's the theme. I've just done 100 tests, so I can feel confident knowing that when I pick the theme, that's when you're stepping out of like the majority of students. That's where I want you to be. So a lot of words. Sorry about that. But what I just want to reiterate to you is the importance of continuously looking for theme, reading for theme, looking for theme in the answers, and choosing that one. So I told you this one was going to look different. I want to offer this to you. This is a strategy just to help you save time. And if you like it, you can use it. If you hate it, you'll choose to continue without it. And some of my students love it. And some of my students are like, no, that's not for me. And so I just want to offer it to you to see what you think. We know that in every single, this whole test, there are going to be 9 most nearly means, right? So we know that for a fact. Done, believe it, yes. We know we're reading for theme. And we know that there's a couple here, that when we get to these questions, which choice provides the best evidence to answer for the previous question? There's at least one, but more often than not, there's 2 of these on each one of the 5 sections. So there's going to be 10 of these lobbed at you. Some, like I said, there's at least 1, but sometimes 2. So when you're looking for the best evidence and you want to save time, and when you get here, we always use our strategy. Which ones can we get rid of? What we can consider doing before we even start reading is we can find this. What is a during reading strategy? So say, for example, I see this. Which choice provides the best evidence to answer the previous questions? It's all between lines 65 and 81, so it's toward the end of the reading. And then I just have to look at what the previous question is. So that was number 8. Somewhere between the lines 61 and 85, it can reasonably be inferred that from the passage that Harani provides Nawab with a motorcycle mainly because. So when we find why Nawab got a motorcycle, then during reading, then we check it, and we have quickly found our answer to here. So, like I mentioned, it's lines 65 through 81. I'm going to come over here. It's on the back half. I'm going to remind myself what I'm looking for because there are so many things going on in my head when I'm reading. I don't know about you. Sometimes it's let me get rid of these distractions. But oftentimes than not, what I'm really thinking about is, where's the theme? What's the theme? And I'm so focused on that. So I don't want to forget about what I'm looking for if you want to do this. So I'll just write myself a little note. I want to leave this space over here just because I know there's going to be at least 2 most nearly means. So I want to leave this space over here. But I'll just remind myself to put a star or a check next to when, what are we looking for? Haroni provides Nawab with a motorcycle. So why? So you can consider the fact that there's 1 on here, there's probably 2 on every passage. So when you find it, you just put a check by it. We've narrowed down to, it's going to be 61 to 85, somewhere in here. You put a check next to the line that you found it, and then what's that going to do? It's just going to help you really focus in when you do get here. Like, you're really going to look and okay, I remember reading for that. So just a quick little strategy during reading. You can't, if you're gonna commit to doing that, then you have to commit to doing that. As always, I don't want you to look back anymore. I want to really start looking at this to be, you read it one time and then you use your strategies to answer the questions. All right, so we're ready to read. We're just starting off with our fiction section. I want to give you this option. If you want to read with me, then just continue. It's going to play on. If you would prefer to read on your own, then you'll just close this out and go to the next lesson in your sequence on the website. So it's totally up to you. A lot of kids, by the time that they are on period 4, they don't want to read with me, and that's okay. But if you do want to stay, then what we will do at the very beginning of the next one, you'll just stop this now, move on to the next one. When you're done reading, we will talk at first about, the main things that, if we started taking notes on the plot, then we'll talk about that. We'll talk about theme, and then we'll jump into the questions. All right. So if you're leaving me now because you want to read on your own, see you soon. If not, then let's pick up. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. Okay, I've concluded my reading. I filled out my chart. So I will see you in the next video where we'll all meet back together.